hello and thank you for joining me today. What we're going to do today in the video is have a look at how can you get started with your whyami app. And the best way to get started is to just look at using it to ask a simple question. Before we begin though, we're going to be exploring in this video a case study so that you can see how to use this system for asking a simple question. But the names that are used in this case study have been changed to protect privacy, and all the photos do not represent real people. They are of models, and the photos were purchased from dreamstime.com. What is whyami anyway, you may be asking? Well, it's an app that is now available, and it works on 44 colour combinations. And these colour combinations are an interpreter between the conscious and the subconscious mind and help you to resolve some of those issues that you may have had. The whyami system is simple to use once you understand a few basics. If you use questions that need a yes or a no answer, it won't work for you. It doesn't work that way. It simply brings up information for you to be able to work on and resolve the issue at the time. But telling you yes you should do this or no you shouldn't is not what this system is about. It's best for you to phrase your question as why am I? Or what do I need to know today? Always look at your left hand for up to 30 seconds before choosing. The reason you do this is to disconnect from your conscious mind, which will look at the chart and determine which colours it likes based on your colour preference. What we want you to do is to go into your right brain, into your subconscious mind, and choose from there. So when you've looked at your hand for 30 seconds, holding that question in your mind as you do it, you look at the chart and you choose the first colour combination that stands out at that time. And then you read what it says carefully. And then you reread it again, examining each sentence and relating it to the events in your life at that time in order to fully take in the message that you are being given. So in this case study, we will explore how to use the system. Our case study today is about Maureen. Maureen is feeling pretty down, and she knows that her family are very concerned about her well-being, but she can't seem to pull herself out of this mood. Most days she's close to tears, and she's becoming very depressed. Maureen had, until recently, been employed in a job that she loved with all her heart, but she'd been made redundant. She'd built this business up from nothing to being very successful, and she could not understand why those with the power to save the situation had ignored her. She thought it was going to be easy to get a new job, because after all she was very qualified and very good at what she did, but it seemed that prospective employers felt she was overqualified. Maureen was very concerned about this because before she had got her previous job, she was being told by people that she didn't have qualifications, and that's why they wouldn't employ her. But now she's undertaken lots of courses. She's done everything she can to remedy this. She's achieved many qualifications, but now it appears that people don't want her because she's too good at what she does. Maureen wishes she could talk to someone about how she feels, but she's worried about her family and she doesn't want to burden them with her issues, so most of the time she remains quiet and withdrawn. When Maureen does try to communicate, she ends up arguing with her family, and this leaves her even more distressed. Her daughter one day discovers on Facebook whyami, and she persuades her mother to listen to a video about using whyami. Although sceptical, Maureen follows instructions, looks at her left hand and holds the question in her mind, why am I feeling this way? She looks at the chart. The colour combination that stands out to her at that time is green and orange. So we are now going to explore with Maureen what green and orange and the message is for her. We're going to do it looking at each sentence. The first section tells her about strengths. It tells her about things about herself that she can value, strengths that she can call on to help her through this situation. It also can highlight where some of the issues are coming from. So it tells her, you can be the life of the party. And by looking at that, and you look at Maureen's situation, she had been the life of the organisation she worked for, because she had breathed life back into that organisation. And although she was the life of the party then, she can't see a party in her current world. And by party, I'm not meaning what most of us think of when we hear that word, where we think of a great time and having drinks with our friends, etc. Party can mean being with a group of people and enjoying yourself. And she can't see in her current world a new party. So this attribute is not being satisfied, and as a result will cause her pain. The next one says you like to enjoy life and seek fun and excitement in all you do. In her previous role, she made things fun and exciting and loved what she was doing. But now in her world, there just seems to be a black hole, and there isn't any fun at all, just lots of fear. And it is this that is causing her some of the distress. The next thing is, you can be very dedicated to what you are doing, and your enthusiasm and commitment to a project can be all-consuming. Well, she was very dedicated to her job, and it did become all-consuming, because it consumed her days, her nights, her thoughts, even whilst she was asleep. It was consuming her to the exclusion of hobbies and relaxation. This is a very dangerous attribute to have. It is good to be dedicated, but it's the all-consuming part that is dangerous, because it can swallow up our lives and rob us of valuable time with loved ones. And we need to be very careful if ever we see this. The next says you're in touch with your emotions and can communicate them from the presence of your heart. Being in touch with emotions is good, but if your heart is broken, then the emotions can be too painful to bear. She needs to talk about the heartbreak, but she worries that others are not going to understand why she's so deeply affected, and this is creating a barrier between her and her friends. You are tactful and diplomatic in your communication and always think of the other person's feelings when discussing difficult situations. Well, again, it's good to be tactful and diplomatic, but to always think of others is again a dangerous thing. It's the always. All, in every way, all the time. She won't talk about her fears because she doesn't want to burden others with them or make them fearful too. And she's projecting onto them how she thinks they will feel if she does. And she's failing to realise that maybe they will react differently if she just allowed them to. Now, what we saw there is that she can be the life of the party, so she knows that she can get that back, and when she finds a party to be a part of, then she's going to have that life back. She likes to put enjoyment and fun into what she's doing, and if she likes to do that, that's what she needs to do now, is find things in her life now that she can do that with. She's dedicated to what she's doing, and she needs to get that dedication back into looking into a new life for herself. She's in touch with her emotions. She can communicate them. She can do it tactfully and diplomatically. And she needs to now be looking at how can she do that with her family. The next section tells her of reasons why she will experience problems in this situation. It says, you're going to experience problems when you placed your trust in someone and you have been let down. Well, she placed her trust in people who could have helped stop the redundancy, and they let her down. She's been placing trust in employers that her qualifications and experience would be valued, and they are letting her down. And she'd also placed trust in herself that she could help resolve that situation or get another job, and she is letting herself down. Trust is an interesting concept, and one that unfortunately we can't explore in this video. but we generally trust people to be what we think they should be, to do what we think they should do. What we don't do is trust them to be what they are. It's a concept that you may wish to explore with me at a later time in another video. The next problem is you can tend to give too much of yourself, and as a result may feel used by those around you. She gave a lot of herself to the organisation in picking it up from nothing. And because she gave so much, including so much time that she was never paid for, so much volunteer time, so much of herself went into that she now does feel used by those who failed to support her in her hour of need. You'll have problems if you feel that your needs are not being satisfied. Well, none of her needs are being satisfied in this situation. She feels she has no job, nothing to devote herself to, nothing to satisfy her, and she's not valued, and all of that is painful to her. So, if your needs are not satisfied, you will feel dissatisfied with your life and feel as though something or someone is lacking, and this is exactly what is causing her to feel depressed, because she feels so dissatisfied with what's happened, and someone is lacking in her life, and this feeling of lack is actually very heartbreaking to her. So, we've now seen, here's where some of the depression is. She's been let down. She put trust in people, and they let her down. She gave too much of herself, and consequently now feels used. And she knows that her needs are not being satisfied, and something or someone is lacking in her life. Now, the great thing about whyami is that now it will give you some things that you can do to help address this situation. Here it tells her it's time to look for new avenues of expressing yourself and new projects to dedicate yourself to. She needs to look for something new to explore. Often when the old ways are closing for us, it's an indication that we should look to a new horizon and do something different, whilst a new future opens up to us. This way we can clear our mind and enable a new pathway to open up. It tells her, ask your heart what it wants to do and learn to trust. Is there something that's dear to her heart that she wanted to do, but she didn't have the time before, when she was so consumed by her job? Exploring this would be very beneficial to her. Understand the cycles of life. Don't try to reap the crop when it is time to rest, or this will cause undue stress. She needs to understand the cycles of life at the moment, the cycle of leaving one career or one stage of life and entering another. There needs to be a time in between for reflection. Otherwise, the same mistakes may be repeated again and again. She also needs to understand that there's a time of grief. There is bound to be a time of grief over the loss. She has lost something that was very dear to her heart, and she needs to understand that if she doesn't take some time out and rest and deal with this grief, it's going to cause her undue stress. You know, if we try to rush from one thing to another, we create stress when things don't seem to be working out for us, and we repeat the same mistakes, and she needs to take some time out now to look back and reflect on what happened and make sure that she doesn't make those same mistakes again. It tells her to give yourself time out. Relax and begin to understand the emotions that you feel. Taking time out and partaking in relaxing activities allows the mind to sort through information and bring to the front of our thinking some thoughts we may never have allowed to surface. It also enables us to look clearly at what we could have done differently, and maybe adjust our behaviour and thinking in the future. So Maureen looks at this. She now looks for new projects to dedicate herself to. She realises that for a long time she didn't get to sort her photos. She wanted to put them into scrapbooks. She loves scrapbooking, but she'd put it aside, and when she thinks seriously about it, it had been a couple of years since she'd done any. Well, now she has some time on her hands, and so she can use her dedication to projects, that skill, that attribute that she had from the first couple of slides that we discussed. She can use that dedication to this project and actually do some scrapbooking. She decides to make notes for herself on how she can make all of the advice she's just been given happen. She sits down and asks her heart what it wants to do, and she makes a list of all the things she really wants to achieve and looks at why. And she also decides that maybe she'll undertake a course in trust so that she can trust without opening herself up to being let down again. She realises that this is a time for her to adjust to a new way of being. It's a time for her to sort herself out, to begin to communicate better with her family. It's a time for her to get used to a new way of being instead of getting up in the morning and racing off to the job and being flat out and stressed all day and getting home and still thinking about the job and being constantly on the go with her mind constantly on the go. She's being given some time here to adjust and let her body adjust to new hormones, to new energies that will be running through it as she changes her whole way of being. And she realises that she needs time now to allow a new life to open up and not just rush into something out of fear. She now shares more with her close friends. She feels that she's able to celebrate with them what she did achieve and be part of a party again, be the life of the party again. And she also takes time out to relax and allow herself to heal before embarking on any new ventures. She also takes that ability to be able to communicate from her heart because she understands why she felt as she did, and she now communicates from her heart about how much she is grateful to her daughter for being there when she was not functioning well and for loving her enough to be there by her side and not desert her. And now when they share better times, Maureen realises she needs to think about her needs as well as others, and that sometimes the needs of those close to us is for us to be open with them and open to their point of view and listen. In a matter of 15 minutes, Maureen has uncovered why she was feeling so depressed. She now has a plan of action as to what she can do for herself to change this feeling. And she's once again in control of her life, her health, her happiness, because she realises that that depressed feeling was coming from all those things that she valued, that she believed, that she thought, that she was actually doing it to herself. It wasn't necessarily everything that had gone on around her. It was how she interpreted it, how she looked at it, and the decisions she made about it, which were actually causing her depression. And so now the matter can be resolved. She knows what she needs to do. So using whyami for yourself? Well, whyami is available as an app for your iPhone, and it's in the lifestyle category. Or you can visit my website, www.yvonnewebster.com. And if you have any queries or you have anything that you'd like to know, ask me a question. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you got a lot out of this video, and I hope you enjoy using your whyami for yourself.